Hello everyone out there. A while back I dug this thing out of storage. I retired my microstar BX Master because it had some bad capacitors on it and I did not know how or anything I could do about it. So I ended up leaving it in storage for a while, and I happened to run across this user UXW Bill who, among other videos, had given me the idea to resurrect this thing. Just a moment, I'll fire it up. But I was seeking his advice, and he was giving me the proper things I should be replacing, or at least a way I could go about it, although it's probably not a recommended procedure if you don't really know what you're doing. One of the things he suggested was to practice on a scrap piece of hardware, which I have this nVidia Geforce2 GTS. It wouldn't be junk back in this day, but nowadays it really is not that useful. Right there, it's not zooming in very well, but you can kind of see that slightly discolored spots where I soldered back on this capacitor here. It's a solid cap one, slightly in different orientation than that one, but it's nonetheless connected to the board as it should be. The solder points are giant. This one made me extremely nervous because they're very small and close together, but all in all, it's all finished. In just a moment, I will be firing it up. Alrighty, getting ready to fire this thing up. Again, this is a microstar BX Master. The capacitors that were affected are the ones here, not actually touching it. Was this one here, these two there, these other two, and the others behind the CPU. They're probably not visible in this light. Anyways, monitor's on. Before I replaced these, there were several that had pops, some were just bulging. It would sometimes go through the post, but other times it would fail. A lot of times I got all kinds of wacky errors. And that's all been alleviated now. Let me go ahead and fire this up. There's only a floppy drive hooked up to it, so it's going to spit out saying I can't find any hard drives or CD-ROM drives, but those are non-fatal messages. Anyways, here we go. You can see the system lights there. Diagnostic LEDs are lighting up. It's saying looking for video. Monitor just came on. Here we go at the memory test. It only has 64 megs of RAM at the moment, which is just fine for the test. I plan to put the rest of the memory I have back into this thing as soon as I put it back inside its case with everything else that belongs to it. Usually this takes only a second or two if there's a hard drive hooked up to it. Any second now. And again, it's starting from a Windows 95 boot floppy. It's the only one I had accessible at the time. There we go. Yes, this boot image came from bootdisk.com. I believe they have several different varieties. I think this driver actually comes from the Windows 98 CD, but I could be wrong. Yes, again, did not find any device. I think it's interesting that they name the driver Banana. I usually call it MSCD001 or whatever I feel like naming it whenever I set it up. But it would not get this far before, so I'm about ready to turn this thing off and put it back in its case. Then reinstall Windows 98. Alrighty, I'll boot it up and put back together. You can see the lights there. This is probably one of the most useful programs out there if you're ever working on Windows, or at least old Windows machines, and even vintage ones at that, would be Norton Ghost. This particular version is 5.1. I do have a newer copy, but this just happened to be most accessible. And this is the most compatible with the image of this computer I made a long time ago, back in 2003, which is presently restored from the drive, although the LED is very dim. In a couple minutes, I'll restart this, and we'll be back to the way it was years ago. Alright, initial boot up. Like I said, it only takes a second or so. Wow, that's got to be updated. I think I've used Norton antivirus in a couple of years. Yes, I know, Vortex DOS. I don't think I have that sound card anymore. Alright. Finally, after all the restarting, this thing's back the way it used to be. Time and date are correct as of now. I haven't put a new wallpaper on. I usually change that around. Even kept the way I like my fonts and color scheme. I know, kind of an odd choice, but that's the way I prefer it. And pretty much all is well. I'm glad to have this thing back, and thank you, UXW Bill, for your advice. And would have otherwise been sent off and been recycled or whatever. Glad to have this thing back. Now let's get back to what I used to do with it. Let's play some Mechwarrior 2. Alright.